This morning, sun kissed my face. Grab my coffee, life's a fast-paced race. I know. I put on my shoes, but no time to waste. Headed out the door, no stress, no stress. I'm feeling good now. For my groove and sing, a brand new day just let begin. Easy Monday motivation. Time to slow it down. We keep moving to the sound. Easy Monday motivation. Feeling the rhythm. It's deep in my soul. Fantastic energy got me in control. Oh, hear the beat drop. You know we won't stop. Trust the process. Climb me to the top. The top. In the air, so I need some more. Each step forward. Easy Monday motivation. Those words to the years and feels good. Feels like the slowing down. We keep moving towards time. Easy Monday motivation. Let's break it down. Turn life around. With every step we take, we touch new ground. Positive, my vibe, that's all right. Drawn by beauty, line. Easy Monday motivation. We are the so good, and get the feels good. No time to slow it down. We keep moving to the sound. Easy Monday motivation.
Welcome, everybody, to Easy Monday Motivation. It is your homeboy E, and I am here with the crew that make it do what it do. That's right. You heard the big sigh from the guy. They're lucky I don't hit him with a side eye off the top. I was just trying to get prepared today. A little lean on the protein, had to pop that, you know what I'm saying, to get my energy juice in. I balance it with a citrus-based beverage.
Yeah.
whether or not you guys care about more detail.
Coffee.
Yes.
I always care about the details.
But we are so excited to be here with you today. We did pre-record this episode so that we can make sure that you guys got this wonderful topic, because we are kicked off into October. We're going to occupy your mind. We're going to hit you with all of the wonderful. We have continuous generational conversations that we're so excited to have. And as we continue to just delve into all of these different subjects and to give you so much more, we're very excited to just come together as always. So I got to check in with my people. And I'm coming to you first, Johnny, my lead, to see how have you been? What's going on? We're just checking in.
You know what? Things are going good. Things are good. Traveling this week for work. It's October. Love October. It's the spooky season, which I'm excited about. And I've been watching a lot of spooky movies too. Yeah, some new ones too.
Really?
So we can talk about that later. And everything is good. Life is good, man.
That's good. That's good. I love a life is good moment. All right, for everybody out there, life is good. All right, let's just hold on to that. I like that. All right, CT, my guy, I'm coming to you. What's going on? I mean, listen, I'm not even going like really want to hear your check-in, because like we just got to overcheck your check-in, because your check-in just going to be like, I'm checking in. All right. So what's up?
I'm trying to make sure I do my check-in right, because I guess last week I almost got myself in trouble. I don't even remember what I said wrong. Really, the feed was jacking up, and in last week's episode we got to Johnny's Queens and all the things. So can I get that hashtag, please? Johnny's Queens and hashtag all the things. And so, when I think about my update, I think last week it may have been here first. Maybe it was an announcement, maybe internal or something, but it was here first that I let folks know that I'm starting my own practice, going to be leaving the organization I'm with, and I put it out on the socials.
You sure did.
I did. It's like how somebody gets in a relationship and they be like, "Nah, they Facebook official or whatever." I became social official. And so I want to publicly say thank you to every single person who did a shout out, a comment, loved, liked, anything on any of the socials. It is deeply encouraging to know that folks are excited about this new thing, even though many of them don't fully know what this new thing is. They just know in a very brief description, whatever it is that I'm getting ready to do is going to succeed. And that gives me great hope. And we're going to talk about that in the context of our rights a little bit later today. But when I think about just what kind of high I've been on, man, it is encouraging. It's inspiring. And Melanie said to me, she is like really excited for me because now I get a chance to use my voice in a different way on my own terms. And that is without question, like off the charts exciting. So I've got a month left, got a bunch of travel in there on behalf of the organization. So I'll be doing that.
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Johnny this week.
Yeah.
I'm so excited about that. But man, just prepping. And so stay tuned. Like there are gonna be some requests out there. Those of y'all who need coaching or want somebody to do public speaking or something, holla at your boy. But we'll do a formal kind of press release letting everybody know what CORE is. We'll do some shorts, the socials will kick in. And so really excited about where we're going. It's a lot, but I'm here for it. So I'm good. I'm good.
I look forward to your launch party where you will be booking Scotch with E. Yes, I am very excited for this because I know this has been the conversation. Man, look, you already know. We look back and we like, this is what we talked about, right? So I'm you already know I'm like 100% fist in the air. Like, let's go. Look, like, you know, whenever, like, you need somebody to be a bad speaker so you can get the job, send me. I will go in and blow the job to be like, listen, the Scotch with the consulting company, you know, we don't care about this, okay? I'm gonna tell you you should be watching out for, okay?
That's right.
I got you.
I like this approach. I like this business model that we're moving towards here.
I don't know that I love it because I want E to have as many opportunities as I ever would.
Yeah,
okay. I would not want to do it. That's the result of him not doing what he needed to do. I need to perform at your highest level, and then I need to beat you because my level is better than yours. Like that's how we need to roll out in the streets. I don't want it because you couldn't get it. I want to get it. And I want you to get it, and I want everybody else to get it because there's enough to go around for everybody.
Amen to that.
Right.
Amen to that. I'm so
That's
excited.
Right. You know, super excited. So my check-in this week, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a week. A lot of new things, old things. Very excited about maintaining connections, relationships, building in that space. I had an opportunity to go play Super Uncle. This weekend, I had to go do a whole house conversation. You know what I'm saying? So I had a conversation with both of my nieces and as well as my son, and you know, just kind of level setting for my family to be like, and I know there's probably no patriarch in our family right now. You know what I'm saying? When we think about it, because all of my elderly grandfathers have passed or. So sometimes you got to step in there and be like, somebody care enough to chew you a new one. Okay. Somebody cares enough to hold you to a higher standard. And when you walk out here and you say your name and you share a last name with someone, it's with me. And I see myself as this, and I see you as this, and that you are somebody of notoriety and you are somebody of capability. So I had, it's always great to be able to pour back into your family and kind of inspire people and just let them know, like, somebody care, and they will check you, okay? Because you know what I'm saying. I will check you, okay? If you're a kid in my family, I will check you.
You need that. You need that. Like, it takes a village, so it's so important.
Yeah. And then my own, I was dealing with my son is in school, you know what I'm saying, and I have all the fun in the world, but I just got a quick question in my update for both of y'all. Have y'all ever had somebody try to send you the bill when you didn't eat the meal?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
So we're gonna move past that. But yeah, Johnny, you have. You know somebody that sent you the bill and you didn't enjoy the meal. Like I'm saying, like somebody done sent you the invoice, but you did not get to enjoy. See what I'm saying? Like that's the way that it sometimes comes where you like, why am I having to compensate for what you got to celebrate?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, that happens from time to time. That's why I say my week has been a little bit of a whirlwind because people come at me and I'd be like, what? Like, I didn't eat that.
So what you're saying is that you didn't have a chance to negotiate.
Well, no, I mean, no. Well, no, of course, because that right there would be too. What did we say? That'd be too much like right.
Too much like right.
So right, and that takes me into today's topic. Where I'm gonna come over to you, CT, so you can introduce this month's conversation and thing.
I'm telling you what, you just had your rhymes going on. I was trying to decide if we was gonna go down all of the 8s, since it's the bar season. So easy Monday motivationers. What is all the way up and good? We've been dealing with generational conversations, and hopefully you got an education, and that education allowed you to be healthier. Thank you, E. Thank you, Johnny. And because that education made you healthier, we're gonna have a little bit of fun this month, trying to unpack, understand, have conversation around, maybe even go into some deep dive around your rights. RIGHTS, generational rights. Now, when I think about this discussion today, we don't have to be super long, but let me make sure I set the context for the month for you all. So for this week, we're going to say, all right, let's just do some basic understanding of what rights are, right? Can we just understand what those rights are? And that's the context for the month. And then when we come back to you the following week, we're going to really dig into the historical significance of our rights. Things like how holidays showed up, or how things are in the Constitution, and how they impact and or affect us. Week 2, week 3, we may have some folks in the room with us because we think that there is something generational that needs to happen with regard to different perspectives, and those perspectives being layered in the idea that our generation, assuming we're all in the same generation, might have a way that we engage with our rights different than what our kids might, different than what our parents might. And maybe that generational conversation might be one that is rich and motivational for you. And then we're going to finish out the month right before the election comes. And what then does it mean to exercise those rights? And so I want you to be thinking about Easy Motivationers, Easy Monday Motivationers. What is it you want us to make sure that we're covering in the context of rights? But as we go from week to week to week, how are we layering this discussion in the month so that when we finish the month, we really do have a way to motivate each other? Is that okay? High five me in the chat if you got it. High five me all where we go. And let's jump into this conversation. So listen, team, like I think just to level set our conversation today, Johnny and E, when I say like you have rights, like what does it mean? Like how does that hit your ear? E, let me come to you first. And like, what do you think about when I say, E, if you want to understand your rights, you got to know that you got them. What's that mean to you?
So is the question, do I know I got rights, or is that the question?
It might be a subset of the question. That may be a layered part of the question, but how do you know that you have them? Or maybe you might have said, you were saying that you don't know that you do.
That is the part that I'm kind of calling out to be like, so how do I know that I have rights? Because typically you don't know. You typically don't know you have rights, or you have opportunities or pathways through, I would say, legal structures and legal systems that allow for you to make decisions that you would not know that you could make. Like, no, I don't know. No, I don't know that I have rights, because if I knew all of my rights and how to exercise all of them, I probably would be, how would you say, a lot more chaotic in the way that I live, because I would know all of the lines that I could cross and not cross very specifically and exercise said rights whenever I chose to. Like, for instance, if I knew that I had the right to bring a specific type of animal into a specific type of area, then I would make sure I had that type of animal. You know what I mean? Like, just because I would want to be able to bring it to that area. You know what I mean? Like, You know, I see people going to Lowe's and they got a dog in there. Like, all right, cool. I want to bring a giraffe. If I knew I had the rights to bring a giraffe into Lowe's, I would be the guy in Lowe's with the giraffe. But I mean, I don't know that I have rights. I don't know that. I think that's something that you learn from people telling you what you're allowed to do, in my opinion.
Johnny, what you think?
I think this conversation about rights is a very complicated conversation. When we talk about rights, and I'm trying to be careful with what I say because I don't want to dive in too deep and I want to see where we're taking this conversation. But when I think about rights initially, I think we talk a really good game, as in humans, that we have human rights and we have legal rights, and we have all these things. But when it comes to really showing up and upholding those rights, it gets really complicated. Yeah. And I think it's such a broader conversation because I think rights really comes down to your own personal belief system, right? And your values and your view on the world. Because yes, we're supposed to have certain rights, but those get all kind of screwed. I was going to say something else, but y'all know my mama can't say too much.
Mama.
Pause. Those rights get screwed, right? Based on who's in charge, who has the power, who has the final say. So when I think about rights, that's a complicated conversation.
Okay. So let's simplify it, because the nuance of this discussion could take us in so many different directions. Yeah. And I asked both of you personally, and your responses were based upon your own very specific lived experiences. But generally speaking, when someone says, hey, you have the right to, I won't get into that. No, you have rights, and those rights are just fundamental in society. There's a contract that we establish with each other. There's a subset of privileges and freedoms that every person is entitled to have. Right? Something as simple as, let's just say, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. How one gets there might not feel like a right that has been afforded to you based upon something that we'll talk about in week number 2. But if we just establish the baseline that it is just a fundamental thing, it's a freedom that you have, how then might you think about the concept of rights with that definition? So I gave you something without clarity. If I gave you some clarity, Johnny, how might you think about it now?
I still feel the same way. Feel the same way. I get it. I know that we're supposed to, right? We're supposed to have these fundamental rights. I couldn't get the word out. But it doesn't always look that way. And again, I think it goes back to those who have the final say, folks who are in power, those people who make decisions upon their own personal beliefs. Right. So yeah, I think I still feel the same way, that when we get into that discussion about rights, it can be a little bit tricky because we all are not afforded the same rights, even though we should be. And even though we've entered into this contract saying that I'm supposed to, but folks aren't always holding up their end of the bargain, their end of the contract. And so, yeah. That's what I think about it.
Let it happen.
I understand your perspective, Johnny. I think that I like how you think about rights, because in the way you think about it, I'm allowed to just walk up to anybody and slap them in the face because I just feel like I'm in my rights to do so.
Hey.
But then I also
think about it.
Well, I mean, hey, it depends on number one, how I see myself and how I see justice. Because if somebody does something that offends my rights, then my way of exercising my rights is defending my rights and making sure that I use my rights.
Not your lefts, but your rights.
Yeah. So I mean, I can see how people could misinterpret the notion of having rights, right? Because if it's based off of like what you feel entitled to, well, then I could feel the right to demean you. I could feel the right to take away your rights, because that could be within my rights to feel. If I feel like exercising my rights is to limit or restrict other people's rights, then the only thing that's going to stop that is somebody who has the right to stop me in some instances. That's where tyranny comes into play too, where people feel entitled in right in the way that they would exercise something in oppress other people because they feel like they have the right to. So I know, like, I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that we could talk about when we talk about rights, right? But I think it kind of correlates to being able to impose your will also, right? Having the ability to impose your will sometimes can make you right, even though it's wrong.
Mm.
So
now, Johnny, does that sound right? Right. It's like the way even we use the term, and the way that we, again, I mentioned the social contract with very real intentionality, because without it, we are now trying to decide what you think is right. I might not think is right. And what I think is right, you might not think it's right. So then who's right? And so, to the extent that when we think about just having a basic understanding, I think it is important that as we go through this month, we're going to talk about some things that people are going to have very different opinions about, that people are going to have a different perspective on based upon their own lived experience. And I believe that one of the challenges we have in society today is everybody's trying to be right about the thing that they think is right. And so nobody's right. And so if we think about this in the context of the social contract and the freedoms that we have, Johnny, if I'm at my workplace, do I have the right to do whatever it is I want to? And if not, why not? If so, why so?
Yeah, I don't think you have the right to do whatever you want to, because again, I think it does go back to that social contract. And let's just be clear, when I'm talking about, when I say like it is based on our beliefs and values, I'm also, and I could be going a little bit too far here, but I'm also thinking about, okay, we have legal rights, we have human rights, we have civil rights that have been put in place because we have not upheld legal and human rights. Everyone doesn't get the same rights. So I'm not talking about you have the right to just walk up and slap somebody or whatever that case may be. I'm talking about what we are supposed to have according to this social contract, us as humans, especially here in the US, is not always upheld. And that is why we have to have civil rights to make sure that those other rights are being upheld. So that's why. So when we talk about workplace, no, I don't think so. I think, again, it's a group of social norms that you have to follow. There's rules that this workplace has established, and parameters that you have. There's just things that you have to follow. And if you don't follow it, there will be consequences. So I guess technically you can do whatever you want to, as long as you know that there will be consequences for your actions. Right?
I think Johnny's bringing up something I think is important for this conversation, because what I heard her say, based upon what you had said around the slap, that let's just say in the environment that we're talking about, you came up and slapped somebody in your workplace. I feel like somebody would respond, not just somebody, but a legal entity would respond and say, you have the right to remain silent. You have the right to an attorney. Like, there is a rule that they have set up because you took a right into your own hands that turned into a wrong, and now you have the right to not have your rights taken. What is that, E?
You and you may be right, but what if my beliefs lead me to respond in a way that compels me to slap someone, to set a boundary because of how I have been treated, disrespected, and my rights have been taken, right? What if me slapping is defending my rights because I have communicated, I have documented, I have done all the due diligence, I have sought the help, and now my beliefs have taken me to a place to where my only defense is with the force of my 5 phalanges.
Open or close?
Across your face. Open, because open is a lot less aggressive than closed. So my beliefs, look, I would say I am from the tribe of Smith, where we tell people to keep their names out our Mickey Mouse, and then we slap them. Okay. I'm just saying.
But in the contract, E, like let's just stay right here for a minute. In the contract, So somebody violates, right or wrong word, your
Okay.
right.
Yep.
Now you feel like you have the right to violate theirs.
But my beliefs,
But I've heard two rights don't make a left or a wrong. How do you reconcile that?
I don't reconcile it with math. Apparently, I reconcile it with lack thereof math because my beliefs will set my boundaries before my logic. That would be like, if these rules say don't do X, Y, and Z, my beliefs now have compelled me that the disrespect have crossed my boundaries so far that they have pushed my beliefs before those rules, because I know people ain't following them the way they treat me. So if we ain't got to follow rules on that side, I'm not following the same rule. I have my own rule, which is slap the stuffing out your muffin because you've been asking for it. And I have warned you most likely that I will. And therefore, when I actually execute where my boundaries lay, I mean, yes, it is based on my beliefs. And yes, I may have crossed this boundary or rule, but I still stand firm.
Johnny, I definitely want to hear from you because I feel like next week's episode we may get into the different rights of Martin Luther King Jr. versus the rights of Malcolm X and how they approached their right to do a thing or to speak a certain way, created a differentiated way that people followed them and thought about them. But how you feel about saying what he says around essentially, this is not a biblical turn the other cheek. This is you slap my cheek, I slap your cheek. Like, Johnny, how are you feeling about this right now?
Hey, do you? Do what you gotta do. Okay.
Living color.
You just have to be prepared to suffer the consequences of whatever those actions are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
You
that's
really
fair.
do. I mean, that's really what my true opinion about it is. Like, hey, fine, whatever, do you? But you
Right.
got to suffer the consequences.
Yeah.
If there's rules that say that you just walking up to slap somebody is not right, right? Yeah, those are my thoughts about that one.
So I guess let me ask this question to you then, CT.
Yeah.
Then, is there a moment or is there a point when sometimes there's an intersection with your beliefs and rights, and your beliefs could make you wrong?
Okay.
Go ahead, Johnny. You.
Well, the question was posed to you, so I'm too excited, so I'll be quiet.
That's why I wanted you to respond, because your excitement felt like there was something in that energy.
Jump in.
Yeah, because that's where I'm going with that. So when we talk about rights, I can't, we're in the political season, election season, so I can't help but to think about that. I've had multiple conversations with people who said that they will vote a certain way because it conflicts with their religious beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost like everything else goes out the window, and I have a really hard time with that. But yeah, so that's what I meant when I say, like, ultimately I think sometimes it comes down to your belief system, your experiences, the way you view the world and how you show it, because that's where you determine what is right, what is wrong, and who has rights and who doesn't, and all these other things because of the lens that you're looking through the world at. So
I love and appreciate the question, E, and I think it's important that we make sure we stay one level on how we're defining initially what rights are, right?
Yeah.
And for me, there's the fundamental set of principles, beliefs that exist so that we can function in the world together. When it breaks down, it oftentimes breaks down because I have beliefs different than yours. It doesn't change what the rights are. If I'm in my job is established what there are policies, practices, and procedures that exist so that you can have the right to show up and know you're going to be safe, know that you're going to be able to function the way you need to. And not always does that organization do it well, but they have them set up so that the contract that you make with them means you can show up and you can be able to do your job. And when somebody violates those rights, you don't actually have to take those rights into your own hands because you are in that particular environment. That is when their policies, practices, and procedures are the right to keep you safe while you were there. So I don't believe that your belief system in the context of initial rights have anything to do with fundamentally what I'm supposed to have when I'm in this earth. Now, Do people violate them all the time? Yes. But because you violated them does not mean that I violate them myself. Why? Y'all know good and well. If we go to last week, clearly in the spiritual topic, y'all know I'm a Christian. Y'all know I love me some Bible. And
Yep.
in the context, I just said it before. If Jesus would encourage me that if somebody showed up and slapped me on the cheek, I'm supposed to give them my other cheek. Why? Because he says, "Vengeance is mine; I shall repay." And what I have always found is that when someone violates a right of mine, right? It's a way that I think about how I'm supposed to show up in the world. What I've got to also honor is that I may be doing something that's causing somebody else to feel like that I'm violating their rights, and I could unintentionally be doing so. There are some things that we do that are offensive to people, and we not know that we've offended them. And now they're saying, now my rights have been violated. Well, I didn't know that because I don't know you. And so a part of the thing that we give in this pod every single week is this idea that where there is relationship, there is grace, and in the context of that grace, I'm going to work hard not to violate your rights, your beliefs, etc., etc. So when mine cross E, I default to, okay, how is, and this is what I've always told our kids, it's never the decision that you make in the moment. Is it, have you considered the consequence or what's going to happen after that decision? And are you willing to count the cost or pay the price or deal with the consequences of that decision?
Yeah.
Again, the decision itself, it's so what, who cares? People are making decisions every day. But if you're not considering how that decision you're getting ready to make is going to impact everything else that happens in your life, because you could lose your rights if you choose to want to be right, whether it is a relationship in your home with your spouse, whether it is a relationship you have with your kids, whether it is the relationship that you have with your job or the people who are driving on the highway with you. Somebody cuts you off and you decide you want to have road rage and you go cut them off. And in the intention of you cutting them off, they swerve and their swerve hits another car, it hits another car, and now there's a car backup. And because you wanted to be right or you wanted to defend yourself, now you have the unintended consequence of other lives being impacted, affected, and impacted negatively because you wanted to be right. And so for me, as I think about this conversation throughout the month, I want us to level set on there's a fundamental thing that we all get access to, and that is our humanity. How we live together in it is where the choice becomes.
Mm-hmm.
I see that. I can agree with that. Okay.
My head's at. So I want to go back to this question. I don't know if we unpack the fullness of the idea that when I show up, I want to be right. How do you know that you're right?
That's a good question.
Or I want to just do the right thing. How do you know that the thing that you're about to do is right? How do we know?
I think right, even though it shouldn't always be, becomes a moral question, right? I mean, at the beginning of the choice, you think of what's best for you and the people around you. In most options that don't lead to any harm or disadvantage that seems malicious or intentional to anyone else, right? Like that in its sense is a moral stance to be like, I tried to do what's right. Even though the outcome can still lead to unintentional, negative consequences or impact people negatively. When we think of right, most people try to lie it in intention, but the intention is only aligned when you have factual basis to go against to confirm what is right. So if the choice is, like if I just had to play out an example, if the choice is I have to defend somebody to save their life and take someone's life, that can be considered right. But the perspective of someone could still be like, but that wasn't right. So in your moral question, the right thing would be to save someone. But in order to save someone and make an immoral decision, can you still be right? See what I'm saying? Like that's the complexity of right. So I don't know. I agree with you. I think it's a conundrum. I think it's a quagmire.
I agree. I agree.
Johnny, what do you think? What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree wholeheartedly with the way that you said that. It is, what is it? A conundrum.
Yeah.
There's a great
um,
wine called Conundrum. I'm sorry, go ahead.
what'd you say?
Great wine. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry. Conundrum.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a moral about, okay, so the question is, how do you know if you're doing the right thing, or like what is right? And it is, I don't know, it's complicated. I know I keep coming back to that word, but it is complicated. And I don't want to keep coming back to your set of beliefs and values and how you view the world, but it does show up when it comes to what's right and what's wrong. Because I'm just trying to think of a situation, which of course I can't think of right now. But I mean, there's been choices that I've made that I wholeheartedly feel is wrong. I mean, right. And that someone else is going to be like, no, that was totally wrong. You did not do right by whoever this person is. But in my mind, if I'm thinking about me and my kids and my husband and my family first, it was right. And I don't really care how it affects anybody else, because that's who matters. Right.
Yeah.
So
So
but
I want
at the same time, you can't say what's right is relative, because it's not. There's certain situations where some things are just wrong and there's no way around it. But yeah, I don't know. This has me really, really thinking. This has me stopping what to say here.
I'm gonna pose the moral question that I as a kid, I literally had to live through this. We watched it through movies and everything. So anybody that knows me knows I'm a movie guy. And if you have, I've seen all the Marvel movies, right? If you think about this question of what's right and how do you know you're doing the right thing, it only draws me to one person, Thanos, the main villain of the story. If you think about who Thanos was and the decision that he was trying to make, the problem that he was trying to solve was the universe was running out of resources because it had more life than resources available to it. So his thought was, in order to save the universe, I'm going to wipe out half of the life in the world, in all of the universe, so that there would be enough resources for the worlds in the universe to continue based on the finite amount of resources. Right now, his methodology, his plight. Some people could be like, I get that. I understand. Like, yeah, you're right. Yeah. We do need to save ourselves from these things. Yes, there is a right course, but then somebody could say it's immoral for you to want to wipe out half of the life in the universe in order to save the other half. Like, and it should be something that we should all fight for, and it shouldn't come down to one person's right or wrong decision. So, like, I love the question in itself, because the immoral choices that someone could think someone else has could be 100% moral to somebody else. Because I'm telling you, I'm a villain to somebody else, right? Absolutely. Like right now, I'm a villain in somebody's story right now because they don't think that I'm right. But I may think I'm right. So I'm with that. I love that.
Yeah. I love the question. And I love that I can't necessarily answer the question.
Yeah.
And it really has me thinking, because you're exactly right with what you just said, E. I'm the villain in someone else's story, because I made a decision to do whatever. And I'm like, oh, well,
I would suggest that that's right. You are the hero in someone's story, and you are the villain in someone's story. I love deeply, E, the example of Thanos, because the conflict is a moral one. The conflict is, in one person's eyes, they could say he was a villain because he took all of those people away. But his intention was to do something good for everybody, irrespective of who you were, except he did not banish himself. There would be a difference in my own mind if the goodness of Thanos showed up and he was like, I'm gonna be one of those people after I snap my fingers to be gone too, but he was not. And inherent in that decision is something that I think we're going to get into in the following weeks. I
Oh,
love the
good.
idea that we're pulling this thread
This is
in our conversation where we've got somewhere we can go with this conversation. There's a nuance. I want to just throw it out here. Do you ever talk to somebody, and Johnny, you did it the other day, and I hear it all the time now. When somebody is looking for validation in the statement that they made, they will finish their statement by saying, right? So, what you just said was really good, right?
Yeah,
And they will
good on-
finish it almost with a question mark, hoping that you will validate with your nodding of your head with an acknowledgement that says, you know what, you are right. And what I found is that people are so uncomfortable with being able to make a qualified statement based upon their individual experience and let the statement just stand alone by
Mhm.
itself without validation, without a head nod. There was an exercise we used to do in some of my speaking classes where you had to talk, but the person across from you wasn't allowed to nod their head. They weren't allowed to blink. They just had to unemotionally listen to you. And you
Mhm.
had to be okay and acceptable sharing the thing that you were saying without somebody validating that what you
Yeah.
said was right, or that the thing that you said you could be accepted in. So as we go through the remainder of this month, Easy Monday Motivationers, we want you to think about, like, how are you showing up wanting and needing to be right? How is the idea that you have rights, but when you extend those rights, are you extending them through your belief system, your morals, your own values, and how might that be impacting other people every single day, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's at home? And then as we get into next week, we got some history that we need to dive into around how do we get to a place where even rights were a part of the conversation and then a necessity for it. Johnny started to touch on it, but we're not going to get deep into it today. This is just kicking off the first week. So I love where you guys' heads are at. I think this is a super thoughtful conversation for today, and I think we've got somewhere to go for the rest of this month.
I love
E,
it. This is
let me
great.
pass it back to you unless you guys have something else you want to add to it.
I just want to say that I don't always need to be right, even though I'm right most of the time. I don't need to be right. I just need to be heard.
Right.
I
I'll
like
just leave
that.
it at that.
Okay, I like
The
that.
first part is a lie, but the second part is true.
Right. Y'all not gonna be able to hear the term right for the rest of this week and be not the rest of this month and be like,
Right.
or that wasn't right.
Right,
Like think about
right, right,
how
right.
many ways we use it. Right.
Yeah, because it's definitely a filler for me. I
Oh,
know it for sure. It's a
yeah.
filler word for me. So
I'm
yeah,
trying to change how we use right in the month of October
let's
2024.
do it. Let's
Right
do
is
it.
not gonna be the same when we finish.
Let's do it.
Right?
Uh,
Right?
no.
No.
No, I'm not going with it. Wrong. Okay. all October. Wrong. Like I have the counter to right. Wrong. Now it's funny because like I definitely think this is going to be a fun topic as it leads us into November where we're going to be voting on our rights, and the importance of empowering individuals to know that they have their rights is a great conversation. So CT, thank you so much for bringing that to the house. And I know that we have plans to have some good guests on. We can have some great dialogue. We're gonna pull them out the weeds, y'all. All right, you know what I'm saying? So we're looking forward to that. I will say that my Thanos for President 2024 shirt does get a lot of attention when I wear it at the gym, as well as my Thanos for President jacket that I wear when I go out. Like people really be staring at it like, really? And I'm like, what?
Really?
I mean, he can fix it in a snap. All right, I'm just gonna move on. So you already know what it is. Like, so we're kicking it off with rights, and the one person that I really would want to hear, because I know she was the one that told you right from wrong back in the day, CT, is what would Grandma have to say about this? What would Grandma do?
Oh, Grandma does love this topic deeply. And so she would tell you, sit up in your chair and listen up. You might think that as you show up in the world every single day, you have rights. Well, Grandma would say those rights don't get to be exercised unless you get it right. And here's what she would say. She's going to use the word rights today. Grandma would say, you first have to get your all right. I believe the songwriter said RESPECT. Find out what it means to me. If you don't have respect for yourself and those around you, you're not going to exercise your rights in a way that makes sure that the world can show up for you, with you, and on behalf of you. And if you are going to get the respect right, then you have to have the I on lock, and that is your integrity. If you aren't honest, if you don't have a strong moral foundation, then there's no way you're going to be able to respect those around you. So you're going to get your rights wrong. And as you establish the idea that you've got great integrity, when you have really sound integrity, then the G becomes real easy. You now have the ability to grow. You grow in your understanding about what other people's perspectives and ideas are. You grow in your ability to know that I'm not always right, but when I operate with integrity and I'm respecting someone across from me, it allows me to now have the H. And the H is keep hope alive. When you have hope, hope can be the thing that allows you to grow in a way because your integrity is tight. Now, there is a Bible verse in Proverbs chapter 13, verse 12, and it says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. And what I have found is that where somebody had hope in something and they are now disappointed, that hope now turns into something that doesn't allow you to be able to grow, because now you're having to compromise your integrity. And when your integrity is compromised, there is no respect in the room. And then what does it do when your hope is down? It actually impacts your trajectory. When you have rights, your trajectory, your upward movement, your sideward movement, the thing that helps you to maneuver quickly in this world is because you put your hope in the right thing. Thank you. There's that word again. You put your hope in the right thing, and it allowed you to grow because your integrity was there, because you respected the people around you. And when you know your rights are working for you, Johnny, it is because the S in rights is your strength. You have the strength, not just of character. You have the strength to be able to fight through the hard times. You have the strength that when somebody else's rights violate you, you don't violate them, because you understand that there's a trajectory that is happening in your life, in your career, that's where you put your hope in. And that hope now has what? It has the ability to show up through this idea that I'm going to grow. And as I grow, I'm growing with integrity. And that honesty that I bring to the conversation allows me to respect the people around me. And so grandma would say, if you want to get your rights right, make sure that you respect those around you, that you have the highest of integrity, that you recognize you've got somewhere to grow because you put your hope in the right thing. And that hope allows you to have great trajectory because you have strength in the moment. So go out and exercise your rights today. Thank you, Grandma. Thank you, Grandma.
All right, Grandma, getting this right.
Right.
Right?
Right. Right. No, I love it. No, I definitely agree. I think there's so many messages when we think about how we have to exercise, understand, maneuver through, respect others, and really reflect in what rights are. So I love that, CT. Thank you. I was over here trying to take notes too, like for the first time. Like, don't judge me, y'all. I've been trying. Don't be laughing at me because I'm just trying to be like Johnny my leash. Because Johnny, what you got?
I got my notes. That's what I got. Yo, I'm going to keep it really simple this time because I think just like our conversation about rights, my gems will have this what's the word I'm looking for, theme for the rest of the month around voting. Y'all, get out and vote. It's always a conversation about like whether or not our vote counts, whether or not we should vote. I'm sitting out this one because I don't like the candidates, blah, 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 blah. I'm not on it. We're not on it this go round. Yeah. Get out and vote. Get out and vote. Okay. And like I said, over the next few weeks, I'll continue to just say why I think it's so important that we get out and exercise our right to vote. But for this week, as we're kicking off this month all about rights and we're having generational conversations about it, I'll just leave you with let's exercise our right to vote and let's take it seriously.
Love it.
I love it. All right, okay. Johnny got Jim. She got the right to vote. I see her propping up the voting. Wonderful. So that's good. We're gonna say hashtag Johnny says vote. Yeah, that's it. So we hashtag Johnny says vote. Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. Just vote. All right. So for a message from your AOC. Since we starting off this thematic conversation about rights, every time I'm gonna talk about wrongs because I think it would be fun to talk about wrongs when we talk about rights. Of course, I'm just saying. So
that sounds right.
It feels right. So throughout this conversation, what I felt I was going to do is I was going to take some of the elements of what we were trying to identify as right and call out those things that we clearly know are just kind of wrong, right? So if you're doing things with intentionality, to be malicious, to be petty, to be small, to be hurtful, to truly impede people's progress, to stifle other people, you are wrong. Yeah, there's no justification for your actions, okay? You are wrong. I am going to say it again, wrong, okay? Like, I'm not going to write any of this today. I'm going to, every episode this month, when we get done, I'm going to call people out who are wrong, okay? Because as we exercise our rights, we should be holding people to the wrongs that they do. I'm not going to mention his name, but right now they have so many different nicknames and stuff. But sir, if everything they say about you is right, you are wrong. Okay, see what I'm saying? We're gonna go ahead and do that as well.
We're calling people to the table.
That's right.
That's right. That's
right. This season, during this bar season, people will be barred. You will be called out because you are wrong. Okay, so make sure that you know you are in the right place. You are having the right conversations. You got the right people in your circle. Because if not, you're going to look up and you might find yourself in the wrong place.
That was right. That was all right. That was all right.
I like that.
Okay.
All right. So, that's your message from your AOC. You know what I'm saying?
I love that you're bringing up all the wrong. It's funny, but it's so right.
It's gonna be good month.
It's gonna be
this month.
This month's gonna be off the chain. I am so nervous about everything that's gonna happen as I look at the rest of the topics. Because I'm like, man, it's some historical wrongs to talk about. So we had that going.
And there's so many things I wanted to say today, but I know we're not. And so I'm like, but okay, let's do it. Let's dive in this month.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. All right, so coming around the group for the final thoughts, guys. Want to get your last final thoughts. CT, I'm gonna come to you first, and then Johnny Malish.
Listen, I want easy Monday motivationers. Strap on your intellect, do some of your research, and come to these comments as we go into the next couple of weeks, because as we get into even next week, the historical significance of our rights and some of the ways that we received our rights. There's going to be an opinion that you're going to have, a perspective that you're going to have on it. And I'm drawn to a quote by Nelson Mandela that says, to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. And as we think about this conversation around rights, it to me starts and ends with our humanity. And when we are limited in our ability to be human, none of the other rights matter. So it can be legal, it could be civil, doesn't matter to me. If I've eliminated the ability to recognize there is a human that I'm talking to, and that human needs to have the ability to be recognized, to deny people that, as Nelson Mandela said, that's a problem. And so I'm excited about this next month's conversation and bringing motivation to everybody in a way that says, well, wait a minute, I have the right not to be silent. Because the moment that you are silent, it means something's been taken from you. And I would hope through this conversation, we give something back.
I love it. I love it. Yes. So Johnny, I'm gonna come to you, but I'm all right. Now let me just come to you because I do have a question. But go, I'm coming to you.
Okay. I'm excited about this whole conversation we're gonna have this month. And I know we mentioned it, but I don't think I personally stressed it enough. Like, I completely agree with you, E, when you're talking about, like, if you are intentionally being a hater, doing people wrong, being
Yes.
malicious, that ain't right. Right. And just because you have the right to do it doesn't mean that it's okay. I
That's right.
hear people say that, well, this is just who I am, or I have the right to do it. And I think you're hiding behind that, not to treat people right
Yes.
and fair as humans, as
Yes.
CT would say. And so let's just continue to remind ourselves of that, right? Here I go again, right? But it's going to have me thinking about that all week long, all month long. Just what's right, what's wrong, and just because it's right for me, how am I showing up and treating other people? So I'm looking forward to this, y'all. This
Yeah.
is
I
dope.
love it. Oh, okay. I'm trying
Okay.
not to say. I'm trying not to say right.
Just say
Okay.
it. Just say it.
All right.
Let's do it.
It was funny because I was thinking about it. We're gonna go back to this episode. Like, how many times did we say the word right?
I dare you to count it. I dare.
Yeah, it's gonna be a crazy amount. It's gonna be a crazy amount. But you know what? What's right is right. So I'm with it. I'm with it. Yeah, my final thoughts are, as always, just try to make sure that you do the right thing. And that again is a moral decision based on this person that CT seems to know. His name is Hugh Manatee. He's a nice person. What? That's not who you're talking about, right? Because
that's exactly what I was talking about. The problem is, when our kids were growing up, there was somebody called Barbara Manatee, and so just keep going. Just
that's the reason I was going to ask, because I know a Hugh Manatee. Then so I was about to say, CT, don't you personally know a Hugh Manatee? Just wanted to make sure we clarify. Now, okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up. But thank you so much for tuning in. We love everything about being able to present this material for you and have these conversations with you, right? Sometimes we're the voice, sometimes we're the question, right? Sometimes we're the person that's gonna poke the bear, right? But it's okay, because this is why we're here. We don't have no problem going in front of you and try to do that work to understand our rights and have these discussions to incorporate you understanding your rights, especially as we go into this voting season. The election is very important. Voting is very important. Johnny My Liege wouldn't tell us if it wasn't. It was a part of her gems. She gave it out to us. So make sure that you take those gems and use them as hymns. So I'm going to go ahead and say, follow us, like, subscribe, share, get prepared. 5-star us on everything. We on the Apple Podcasts. We on the iTunes. We on the Spotify. We on the YouTube. We on the TikTok. We on the Facebook. We on the. I see what I'm saying? We just need a song to be like, we on a. That's what I'm saying, because that's where we at. We everywhere. We coming for y'all. Okay. But needless to say, it's sad to see us go. But that's the end of the show. And because that, we have to let you go. And before we do that, I will say peace until the next episode. Peace out, guys. Have a good one. Hey, so how's Hugh doing?
It's driving me out of my mind.